CR Live during our men's open broadcast. We have Daniel Pollock, head coach of Butler University, and the 2018 ITA Mountain Region Assistant Head Coach of the Year. Thank you for joining us. How you doing?
Oh, doing great. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And we're just going to give a few more statistics on Daniel's great seasons, with Utah. He was 63-39 with this team. He helped bring this team to #1 in the region, the first time in the school's history. Just talk to us about what the experience was coaching this team and kind of taking them from a place where you're not as strong to being the #1 team in the region.
Yeah. I mean, it all started with recruiting. We had to get out there all over the globe and kind of bring in guys that we saw had huge upside in their games and try to really uncover guys that were a little bit under the radar.
Sure.
Because at the time we didn't have the ranking in front of our name to bring in the big guns. And then from there, it was really taking the professionalism of the program to another level, bringing in all facets of things that can help your performance, bringing in a more tennis-specific off-court training program, bringing in sports psychology,
Right.
bringing in nutritionists, and then pushing them, harder than they've ever really worked before on the tennis court too.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Well, talk to us a little bit about the recruiting process, because I think that's something that isn't shown enough in the college kind of collegiate process. We really think that it just kind of happens. Players see the school they want to go to and they show up, but there is a lot of coach involvement. How do you find these guys that are kind of underrated and under the radar? Do you go to smaller tournaments, or what's your kind of process there?
I'm fortunate now. This will be year number 12 coaching, so
You got
I've
the experience.
a little bit, yeah. And I've kind of developed a worldwide network of
Sure.
contacts. Throughout Europe, especially. I have a lot of people that are always kind of on the lookout for me for players, and they'll drop me a line if there's somebody that they think I should take a look at. But yeah, then it's all about kind of scouring the different federation websites and scouring through the results, and then picking those 1 or 2 tournaments a year where you feel like you can see the most players, but maybe not always the most decorated players, guys that have maybe had a really close match against a guy that was #1 in his nation. Where did he go to play his tournament? That kind
Right.
of stuff.
Absolutely. And so I don't want to harp too much on your past here. I would love to talk about your new job at Butler's head coach. What are your goals for the season? Are you excited?
Absolutely thrilled. Couldn't be more excited to be here. Awesome city of Indianapolis. People here have just been fantastic to me. You hear about the hospitality in this part of the world, but I've been really overwhelmed to actually, feel it firsthand.
Yeah, of course.
The family feeling that everyone talks about at Butler it's real. And then, my goals for the season, I got big goals. We got 6 seniors on this team. This is their last chance at a Big East championship, and a lot of those guys, they won that Big East championship in 2017, had a little bit of a rough run of it last year, first round exit, but they know what it takes to get there. They know what it takes to
Right.
win at that level, and hopefully we're going to push them kind of using that professional approach that I used at Utah, push them to another level and take home that title.
Absolutely. And obviously with 6 seniors, you're going to have quite the recruiting process ahead of you next year.
Yeah.
One other thing I do want to talk about, I noticed that you were the head of the women's program at the University of Idaho.
Yes, yeah.
Just curious your take on the difference between coaching a women's team and a men's team. Obviously, there should be some pretty drastic differences there. Or maybe not. Maybe I'm totally wrong. I have no experience.
No,
so.
you're fine. I think the differences are maybe a little less than you might think.
Sure.
I mean, when you're coaching elite athletes, you're coaching elite athletes, and if they're there to get better and improve, a lot of the stuff is very similar.
Sure.
A few different ways that I, used to communicate my points to a women's team versus a men's team. But really, there wasn't a huge difference in really my approach to how I coached them. I was very fortunate. My women's team was awesome. Still have great relationships with a lot of those girls that I coach today. And honestly, when you're coaching elite athletes that want to improve, there's not a huge difference.
I hear you there. Now, I guess on the topic of coaching, something that we've talked a lot about on our podcast, on our live show, is the topic of coaching on court. So obviously in college, on the WTA, you do have that ability. What are your thoughts on that? Do you enjoy being able to coach on court? Do you think it's something that you should leave more up to the player to figure out themselves? Just kind of talk us through that.
Yeah, I love the ability to coach on court. I think it brings a whole new, a whole different kind of feel to college sports.
Sure.
And you know what? part of me is a purist. I grew up in England, and we have Wimbledon, probably the most pure classical tournament in the world, and part of me is a purist that on the ATP tour, there's something special about not being able to coach, but I love the aspect of coaching on court with my guys. Being able to talk them through different situations as a learning experience, that kind of stuff. I think it's great.
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably more on the side with you of being a traditionalist. I think there's such a aspect of being out there on your own. It's you, the racket, the ball, the court, and your opponent. And you got to figure it out on your own. I think there's such a amazing feature of our sport that is unlike any other sport that, I don't know. I think we should probably take it away and maybe not bring it to the ATP, but that's my own thought. Another question for you that we've brought on to the podcast a bunch is this recent incident at the U.S. Open with Mohammed as the line judge, stepping down, talking with Kyrgios. I don't know if you saw this moment or if you heard about it. Basically, to set up a little context for those who didn't see it, the line judge stepped down, told Kyrgios that, you look like you're about to tank this match. Let's not do it. Give him a little pep talk. Do you think he overstepped his boundaries there?
Maybe a little bit.
Okay.
Maybe a little bit. I mean, I think you do have to warn players, though. I think they definitely should have a warning when before you're about to code them, that kind of thing. But to kind of give him a pep talk and be like, hey, just keep yourself in check. I don't know if maybe he did step over a little bit. We do have a warning system in place that's already supposed to take care of that.
Right.
But you love Kyrgios. You want to see him out there. I think he brings a lot of attention to our sport in a good way when he's, when he's the good Kyrgios. And
it's
so,
fun to watch.
I'm kind of glad that he stepped down there and kind of encouraged him to do the right thing as a fan. But maybe with the rules of the game, I don't know if that was really the right thing to do.
It's questionable, but I won't put you too much on the spot for that one.
I appreciate it.
One more question that we've asked in the past, and again, I like to ask these questions to everyone because I think it's interesting seeing the different perspectives. One thing that we've asked is what we think about college being a good setup for the pros, or if we think it's something that might hold a player back. They could have had the chance to go play a few more tournaments earlier on in their career. Kind of your thoughts on whether a lot of your players who have pro aspirations, whether college is a good thing for them.
I think there's nothing better now with the way that the game is evolving and people peaking later and later in their career than going to college first. Obviously, if you're going to make that jump and you can go straight into the top hundreds as an 18-year-old, okay, then you probably shouldn't be going to college.
Sure.
Yeah, but what I always tell people is I think of college as almost like a soft opening to your career, as in like a soft opening of a restaurant, where you get the ability to go out there and you get to try, and week in, week out, you're playing against great competition, but at the same time, your money that you're making is not saying, okay, I can't play next week's tournament.
Right.
If you lose for me, I'm still going to fly you home. I'm still going to, I'm
still going to bed, some
you're
food.
still going to have a bed and some food. And it's not going to, you're not going to be just kind of hung out to dry. Oh, I can't play next week because I don't have any money. So, just like a soft opening of a restaurant, you get some criticism, you get some feedback from some people that are maybe more friendly or some people that
not
know
the online critics.
Exactly. And, so college is kind of the same way, We're still going to fly you out next week to the match. I'm still going to give you a nice hotel room. I'm still going to give you some food, and I'm going to put you out there on the line and try and teach you again, how you can improve. And I think, 4 years of that, hopefully, from freshman to senior, I don't have to give you as much input. Hopefully, you're kind of learning to do things on your own a little bit more. Hopefully, you're ready to roll on your own when we, when we send you out of the door at 22. And you're physically and just mentally more mature at that age, too.
I hear that. I think one of the biggest benefits is also the doubles side. I think so many of these young next gens, and we've talked about this a bunch, don't quite have the comfortable net play, the net presence. They kind of stayed back, hit from the baseline. I think playing doubles obviously gives you that confidence to come to the net and do that. So another aspect that personally I think is great about college tennis.
Great point.
I know we want to get back to watching this match, so a few more questions for you here. Obviously, I think we're at, what are we at, Dalton? We're at
It is 3-5. Djokovic is up by 3.
So Djokovic serving for the set. Obviously, we've got a little insight to where this match is going now, but predictions for the rest of this match. Who do you think's got this?
It's hard for me as a guy that likes to play the percentages to bet against Djokovic.
Yeah, I hear you.
I just feel like Delpo has to be at his absolute very best to beat Joker, whereas I feel like Joker can win this match, maybe not quite at his 100%.
Okay.
That's kind of how I see it, but it's an unbelievable matchup. I mean, you got the guy who's probably got the best defensive movement skills in the sport in Novak versus the guy that is probably one of the few people in the world that can hit through those skills in Delpo.
Yes.
That
so forehand is crazy.
Right? So it's going to be a little bit about, Djokovic neutralizing that forehand and that first serve with his defensive movement and just how much is Delpo going to be on with that forehand. Can he hit through Djokovic's skills?
I hear you. I mean, that forehand is pretty much going to be the game changer today if he can hit some more 117 mile an hour
Right.
forehands. you can't really do anything with that.
I don't think I've ever hit a serve that hard.
Yeah, exactly. But I was saying Gruskin definitely can't. So. But last question here for you. Obviously, we are Cracked Rackets. We always ask if there's a good story, either personally or as a college coach. I'm sure you've seen your fair share of Cracked Rackets.
Maybe.
Any good stories that you're allowed to share of a cracked racket?
I think my only time I've ever cracked a racket in my life, I was 14 years old. I cracked a racket and threw it onto the clubhouse roof over the fence in Manchester, England. And my mom said, "That's the last racket that we ever buy for you." And after that,
my mom said the same thing to me.
I never cracked another one. Luckily, I got sponsored a little bit later on, but
There you go.
I learned my lesson from there, and never cracked another racket. So the Pollock household was not a fun place to be that night.
Well, there you go. I'm sure your players won't be cracking their rackets either.
No.
Well, thank you for joining us. Good luck to you this season, and
Appreciate it.
thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks so much for
Appreciate
having
it.
me. Thanks.